Hello and welcome to part 2 of my candle making for beginners series on my channel. If you're new here, my name is Erica with Memory Box Candle Co. And I make videos all about the journey of starting a candle business. In today's video, we are going to be diving into how to go about choosing your wax. Again, this is for anybody that is looking to get into candle making as a hobby or anybody that is looking to hopefully turn it into a business one day. So when it comes to candle wax, there's a bunch of different kinds that are available on the market today that you can get from different candle suppliers. The most common ones are soy, coconut, paraffin, or beeswax. You could also get a pre-blend of any of these different combinations together. So for instance, there is something called Parasoy, and that is a blend of paraffin wax and soy wax. A lot of people really like that kind of wax. But there's a bunch of different options out there and a bunch of different manufacturers of different kinds of waxes. And you also have the option as well when working with candle wax to actually create your own custom blend of different percentages of different kinds of waxes together. But I wouldn't recommend that as a beginner. Just know that it's an option for the future. An important factor to bring up when we're talking about candle wax is actually talking about the consistency, the actual texture of these different waxes, because different waxes will come in different forms. And that was something that I didn't know in the very beginning. So something like a 100% soy, a 464 kind of wax is going to come in a flake form. When you're feeling it, it is way more dry to the touch. It's not going to get stuck onto anything. It's not going to get stuck onto your gloves. It's just going to fall right off. And it's in a flake form, so it's easy to pour, it's easy to scoop, and easy to measure. Whereas something like the soy 10 wax that I work with, or coconut apricot, or soy bliss, it comes in a slab form. So it's an actual slab of wax, and the consistency of them will all vary, but the consistency can be a lot creamier, a lot smoother, stickier, specifically when you're working with something like coconut wax or something like that. Coconut 83, I know, is very, very soft. Soy 10 can be pretty soft as well, but there's definitely a difference in the texture and the consistency between something like a 464 100% soy wax and like a coconut 83 wax, where it's a lot more creamier and stickier. And then the other type of wax that I'm familiar with is pellet form. So this is very common with beeswax. I do work with beeswax. I do a custom wax blend of my own candles. And the beeswax comes in little pellet forms, just basically little balls of wax. And again, it's very easy to scoop and pour and measure. And you're able to use it and touch it without it really sticking to a lot of things. It's definitely harder in consistency than something like a 464 wax, and you can really feel the difference between the two of them. And beeswax actually has a very high melt point to it, so it's a harder consistency of wax than something like a 464 wax or a coconut 83 wax. So at this point, now that you've learned a little bit about container waxes, you may be asking, okay, so which one should I work with? What is the best wax to use? And I have gotten this question for years and years and years, and I hate to do this to you, but there really is no answer to this question. Everybody is going to be completely different. There are people that love 464. There's people that hate 464. There's people that love paraffin, just straight paraffin wax, and other people that wouldn't touch it with a 10-foot pole. So there are so many different sides of the spectrum when it comes to choosing what kind of wax you want to work with. It's much like if there were a bunch of new restaurants that popped up in your city and you're trying to determine which new restaurant to try out, and you're trying to ask people, you know, what is the best restaurant? Everybody's giving you all these different opinions, and the only way that you're going to find out is by going to the restaurant, trying the food, and then being able to decide for yourself what your preference is. So I recommend to ask yourself 2 questions. The first one is, where is the closest candle supplier to me? So I want you to go on Google, type in candle supplier near me, and it should pop up where the closest one is to you. Maybe you're lucky and you have one within driving distance. Maybe you have one that's going to be in the next state. I recommend to anybody, whether or not you're doing this for a hobby or for business, is to, if you're trying to save money on cost for the supplies, because wax is heavy. So if you can save money on shipping, definitely do that. But the closer the candle supplier is to you, the cheaper the shipping is going to be because it has to travel less distance. So I recommend to try to look at that candle supplier, see the waxes that they offer, and then maybe you can start there with ordering a wax that you're interested in. The second question I want you to answer is, what is your innate or intuition, or what is your first thought when it comes to working with a wax? Because if you've researched a little bit into candle making, I'm sure that maybe you might be leaning towards one or the other. So maybe you're like, no, I really want to just make all beeswax candles. Then look for a supplier that's closest to you that's going to be the cheapest for beeswax. Or maybe you're like, no, I want to get the best hot throw, so I'm going Parasoy. So you're trying to use that wax and try out that wax for the first time. And you may find that you're ordering in a wax, a small amount first. I would recommend maybe 5 to 10 pounds to get started. You don't want to order, an entire 40 or 50 pound box of wax and then not like it. 5 to 10 pounds will let you go through a testing process, let you go through the process of actually seeing how that wax performs when you're creating the candle, but not so much to where you're going to be left with, a ton of leftover wax if you don't end up liking it. So it allows you to be able to try out that wax and really work with it. And you may get lucky and, well, kind of like what I did, you may get lucky and really fall in love with the first wax that you try. But you may not. You may try it out and be like, okay, there's probably other better waxes out there. So just know that you're not stuck with trying out one wax. Just try out different waxes, but don't overwhelm yourself and try 3, 4, 5, 6 different waxes at once. Just take it one step at a time, especially if you're a beginner and you're just have never made a candle before, or you've only made a candle with, let's say, Hobby Lobby wax or Michael's wax, or just craft store wax in general, and you're trying to take that step up to really learn the craft and become a little bit more proficient in the art of candle making to create a really good product. So just take your time and have fun with it. That is going to conclude today's video talking all about how to go about choosing your candle wax. Please stay tuned for next week's video where I will be going over all about how to choose your jar and the different vessels that you can use for candle making. If you enjoyed today's video, make sure to leave it a big thumbs up as well as subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. Also, don't forget to follow me over on Instagram at Memory Box Candle Co. And I will see you in my next video.